This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded February 22nd, 2011. Episode 31. Publish popular parts, please.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble from Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dave. What's going on?
Everything's happening here. I'm blowing up scopes and all sorts of things. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's all good.
That's right. Yes, I like that video a lot.
$12,000 up in smoke, no problem. Well, not literally up in smoke.
Wow.
It was. It's dramatized. It failed.
Right. They didn't ship you cash and then you lit it on fire, right?
No, exactly. Not quite that extreme. But,
yeah.
Oh, well. Yes. It's good. I think my microphone's peaking here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you're having mic problems as well, because your
My
basement is taken apart.
Destroyed. Yeah, that's right. I am sitting at my workbench, I'll say that. But my new workbench, it's awesome. I like it so far, but it's just...
Right.
It's not done yet.
Actually, I saw the photo of the lighting you had installed, those like spotlight kind of things. What's the deal with that? Where's your LED lighting?
Well, that's track lighting. So like later I could just replace the lights that are in there with LED lighting.
Right. Okay.
It just runs 120 across in parallel.
Got it.
Yeah, you just plug in lights across it. So it's kind of nice like that.
Right. Oh yeah, fair call.
It's good because I can point it at stuff too. So if I have like a project I really need a lot of light on, I can concentrate it.
Okay,
so that's why
fair
I did
enough.
it.
Yeah. I need more lighting for my lab. It's pretty piss poor.
I was thinking about. I wanted to ask you about it because when I was wiring it up yesterday, I was thinking, can in Australia we've talked about before how you're not allowed to work on mains and stuff, but
that's
are
right.
you what's the restrictions on lighting and installing your own stuff there?
Well, you can't. Anything that connects to the mains, you are not allowed to touch. Technically, you're not even allowed to replace your own power plug on your appliance or something else. If it fails and you chop it off and you install a new power plug, you're not even allowed to do that. Technically,
really?
I believe. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Oh. That seems a bit extreme.
Oh yeah, it's pretty extreme. But of course, no one gives a shit. But technically, legally, you're not allowed to do it.
So that's just them covering their ass, saying like, if you shocked yourself, it's like, oh well, you shouldn't have been doing that, so we're not paying for your medical coverage or whatever.
Well, exactly. And then the appliance can be on-sold. You might sell it second-hand on eBay or something like that. And if you've wired it wrong, it can go off and kill someone else. It isn't just you. So, and et cetera, et cetera. So,
okay.
Yeah,
so it's more of a lawyer thing than it is an electrician type thing.
Of course. Well, the electricians push for it because it protects their industry. So, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I can't blame them for that, I guess, but... Man, that
sucks.
I know,
but
I think personally, from the amount of time it took me to install, it took me about an entire day to install this stupid lighting, just because I was running conduit and stuff, and it's
right.
just it was a hassle. So I wouldn't have wanted to pay someone though, because it was maybe $150 for everything in materials, and the rest was just my time. So, but I can imagine it would be a lot more for an electrician to come in and do it.
Oh, definitely. They charge you a call-out fee, and then they charge you, $150 an hour or something like that. So,
well, no wonder your lab's poorly lit then, huh?
No wonder they're protecting their industry, huh?
Yeah. Well, no, I was saying that there's no wonder your lab is poorly lit because you don't want to drop money on having someone come out and fix it up, right?
No, I'm just, it's just too hard. Because I've got limited ways that I can put lighting in there, and then the wife complains, it looks ugly, and, you can't just put in another fluoro strip there, and, oh, goodness.
Isn't it in your garage, though? I don't get it.
Well, yeah, it is, so it's, the looks aren't that important, of course, but then I've got two different types of lighting I need. One for lighting up the bench in general, then I need ones for the camera angle that I'm using, and it has to light up the lab evenly, and it's just quite hard. I mean, I bought a bunch of the star LEDs to do it. But,
oh, cool.
I've had them sitting there for 6 months, so I haven't haven't got around to it because it needs a diffuser and everything. You can't just have it, just blaring in my eyes when I'm, shooting the blog, even though ideally that's what I want. I want the light directly on me from the front, from both, from different angles. And no.
See, that's the other thing I was thinking about with this track lighting is if I start doing videos, I'll have a good place to do it. But obviously I haven't made any videos yet, so. But I will be doing one on the bench, so there is that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're actually going to be on camera.
I will be on camera, yeah. It will be
excellent.
A first. Yeah.
That'll be novel.
It will be. Watch out, I'm gunning for you.
Right. Yeah, I'm quaking in my boots.
Yeah, right? All one video, not about electronics, but about electrical installation.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we start off with a what the?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I know we typically end on a what.
Yeah.
What the? Yeah, we don't have any sound effects today because Chris has demolished his rig, so it's all in chaos down there.
WTF, mate? There we go. That's what it usually is. Yeah.
Well, go on. You tell us about it because you're the one who put this. You're the one who found it and put it in here.
Oh, the sound effect?
No,
is that what
the WTF. The TV one.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Because it was a segue from
yeah.
creating videos.
Oh, sorry. That was a good segue too. I'm sorry, Dave.
No problem.
So yeah, it's a video of Bjork, the Icelandic musician, pulling apart her TV.
She's doing a teardown.
Yeah, it's really
kinda.
It's sort of, yeah. It's more like taking apart what's inside, kind of like and it seems like it's earlier in her career. I haven't seen it in a while. I put this on here a couple weeks ago. But and someone actually had sent it to me. I forget who it was. I'm sorry if you send it to me. Let me know, and I'll put you on the show notes. But I can't remember who it was. But yeah, it is weird, man.
I know, it's freaky. I watched it, or most of it, and it's just, what is she on? What is she talking about? What is she trying to get at? Talking about in the end, don't trust poets or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really
bizarre.
Weird.
It's like how your TV is hypnotizing you or something, and she's trying to explain how, the TV used to hypnotize her until she read this book about how TVs work, and now I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It really is a what the kind of thing. And,
she's kind of a weird lady. She's but whoever sent this, we'll post the video. It's wonky. But it starts out though, like the reason it's relevant here is because it starts out like a teardown video. It starts out
does.
like, oh, okay, she's gonna look inside her TV, and then it turns into something really weird. So, what the F?
Interestingly, she says exactly the same thing that my wife says. She calls the circuit board like, oh, look, it's a little city, it's a little miniature city.
Yeah.
And look, this looks like a little building, the big capacitors are like buildings. And she's talking about the cable harness going up to the CRT as the elevator going up. And,
awesome.
Look, they're little highways and everything. My wife does exactly the same thing. If I'm going out to lab, are you going out to build little cities? Yes, dear.
Well, Tron did the same thing too. They just did it in a very expensive and not so successful way.
Right, yes. Have you seen the new Tron movie?
I have not seen it. I love the soundtrack, but I haven't seen it.
Right.
I've just listened over and over again.
I went to see it because I hadn't watched Tron in like 20 years or something. So...
Yeah.
So I went to see it with my brother-in-law, and we decided just before we went, we'd watch the original Tron, because we hadn't seen it for so long. And I'm glad we did, because there's so many references to the first movie. If you if you don't really remember it in depth, then you'll miss, every reference and stuff like that. And there's a million references to Star Wars and Jedi and all that sort of stuff as well. And I don't know, everyone panned it, but I kind of liked it. It was all right, I thought. So in terms of, capitalizing on the first movie and giving, like you would see the scene and you go, oh yeah, that was in the first movie. And, they're in the exact same location, opening the same door and, really sort of that, and I love that sort of detail. So, I don't know. I just thought it was all right.
I've never seen the first one, so I'll have to watch that before I go.
Right. Well, you're in for a real treat.
Yeah. I mean, it's always funny looking at like old videos like that. Like I love like in the hack. You ever seen Hackers, the movie?
Oh
with,
yeah, Angelina Jolie. That's the only thing that's noted for.
Yeah, right.
Hell yeah.
Well, no, also the part where they like show like how do you visualize, like computer movies and stuff like that. And we've talked about engineering movies, like there's that new movie coming out about electrical engineering, but for as much as we enjoy it, for the general public, it is boring. How do you even visualize like math, right? So you think about like A Beautiful Mind, that was a math movie, right?
Right.
And how do you visualize these things so that people understand, the processes that are going through, or even just making it intriguing or interesting? And it's pretty tough to do.
I agree.
And hackers, I loved how they like showed like it was so corny. Like they would go inside a computer and then they'd trace along the route. It's like, all right, I get what you're trying to do here, but come on, guys. Like,
well, then you're gonna love Tron, then.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because Tron, he literally goes inside, a computer, and he, and he battles the master control program. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
From a incredibly corny point of view, it's
and nerdy,
just
nerdy.
It's way out there. But it's one of those movies that is absolutely ridiculous, but it's just become, a pop culture sort of icon,
Yeah.
It's one of the, it's like War Games,
Or Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, Breakdance 2. Yes,
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo. Oh, dear.
One of my favorites.
Right. I made the wife sit down and watch Breakdance, the first one. I didn't want to subject her to the second one. And and she loved it. She thought it was great.
I do too. I have them both on DVD.
Right. And I made her sit down and watch Revenge of the Nerds as well.
That's a good one too.
And she thought it was brilliant. She loved it.
All right, she passes the test. You can keep her.
Revenge of the Nerds passed the wife test. It really did. So
I mean, you could keep the wife, not that she can.
Oh, right. Okay.
She can keep the movie.
Brilliant. What else is there? Sneakers. Have you seen Sneakers?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, Sneakers is great. Yep.
Yeah. I always remember the deaf guy with the listening to the...
Oh, yeah. Exactly. He can just tell what everything is, what the data is, just by listening to it,
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Totally out there, but that's a great algorithm. Not quite in those words,
right,
but he can sort of just decode the braille like he had like a braille screen or something. He can just watch the data. It's just like in the Matrix,
Oh yeah.
And sort of instantly decode it all.
If
good
only,
stuff.
If only life were like the movies, things would be much more interesting. And
right. Are there any good other hacker electronic sort of tech movies out there?
I'm sure there's tons. There was actually a Bill Schewber article, the guy that writes analog articles for EEtimes. He actually did an article about that a while back.
Right.
And there was a couple on there that were interesting. They were more like engineering related. But the ones that I put on there, the ones that I thought didn't call it out real well, that no one had called out yet, at least when I looked at it, were Iron Man. I mean, I know that it's not exactly an engineering movie, and I know it's kind of ridiculous, but I mean, Tony Stark is like the only cool guy that does electrical engineering, right?
Exactly. Well, actually, I can remember when that first came out, I was on the Oz Electronics Forum and the Sci Electronics Design. I was still back into Usenet back then. It was, how many years ago was that now? 3 or 4 years ago or something?
Yeah.
Anyway, and people started to really talk about that movie on there because it was, as you say, it was, an engineer sort of doing cool shit.
Right.
And, of course, it had the new technology, all the stuff with the 3D modeling and,
exactly.
things like that. It was awesome. So, it was highly talked about.
Yeah. And I mean,
at the time.
I mean, it seems like, I think about this conversation we're having, right? And it seems kind of trivial in the scope of electronics and stuff. But at the same time, like, you really need these things. You think about kids coming up and, like, having any kind of clue what's going on with electronics, sometimes they get exposure early, but a lot of kids just don't even know anything about it, so having even popular culture examples are very important, I think. So I'm hoping that Disney movie we talked about a while back will, do something, but it would seem like more of a documentary, kind of like based on a true story thing. Even just like the cool stuff, like the Tony Starks and another one I thought of was, have you seen How to Train Your Dragon?
No.
Okay, it's a Pixar or DreamWorks, one of the two. But
Right.
the kid's
yep.
like an engineer.
Oh, it's an animated.
Yeah.
God.
Oh,
yeah.
I love
okay.
it. It was great. But it's the
Right.
kid's like an engineer. He's an inventor. Like just kind of like the inventor
Okay.
mindset. That's kind of the
Yep.
thing that kind of gets kids going, makes them want to be inventors. I remember wanting to
Yep.
be an inventor when I was a kid, and now I sort of am. So
Right.
it's awesome.
And the thing I love watching these movies, I actually watched Iron Man a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was on TV, and we sat down and watched it. And they always include an oscilloscope in there, right? There's
yeah.
always like an old Tektronix oscilloscope on the bench, and they're tweaking the dials and everything.
Yep.
And what's the name of the chick, the Penny Potts or whatever?
Pepper Potts.
Penny Potts?
Pepper.
Pepper Potts, thank you. And she was talking to him and, come over here, and he switches off his gear and he like switches off the scope as if that switches off all of his gear,
Yeah.
And that was like the prime control panel for his whole system.
Ooh, so modern.
And it's just hilarious,
Yeah.
And they always include a token. Any good movie will have a token scope in it.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Or a David Bowie film, or a David Bowie video too, of course.
Right, of course, yes.
Yeah.
So if you've got any good movies, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there's a lot more out there. So leave them in the comments if you're listening and you think, oh yeah, they got to know about this one. So yeah.
What do we got on the list? Because that wasn't on the list. I don't know where that came from. How did we get onto movies?
Bjork.
Bjork, right? Yeah, and that sort of segued. It's like surfing wiki.
Yeah.
You 5 links later, you're into La La Land.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I heard an interesting way to learn new things is to set your Wikipedia page or your homepage to the Wikipedia random.
That's very cool.
That sounds like the biggest time suck in the world.
It would be, yeah. But if you're in your Dilbert cubicle at work and you've got nothing better to do,
that's true.
It's nothing better than surfing Wikipedia.
Yeah, learn
it's
it.
Great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's gold.
Yeah. So how about this Intel fab? Did you see that article?
They're going to what, 14 nanometers?
1.4. That is unbelievable. I mean, it's obvious that they're going to keep going smaller, right? But they're
it's getting ridiculous. Come on. What are they going to produce at 14 nanometers? Are they actually going to get the yield at 14 nanometers?
Eventually they will.
Seriously.
I mean, there's money in it, so they'll do it. Yeah.
I know. Anyway, it's $5 billion. They're building it in Chandler, Arizona, if you don't know where that is. And because not all of our listeners are in the US.
No. I'm glad they're not.
Or even if they are in the US, they may not know where Chandler is. But then again, if you're listening to the Amp Hour, you'll probably know where Chandler, Arizona is because it's the home of Microchip. So
I did not know where that is, so just for the record.
Dude, come on.
What? Sorry.
Famously the home of Microchip Corporation.
Nope.
God, shows how many PIC chips you use.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, sorry. Yeah, so because I have fab experience in my past, I was getting calls about this when they've been recruiting for that like crazy, trying to get people over there. So
okay,
I'd sent a couple job recs over to friends that are doing chip stuff still, but man, I don't get why they always put chip fabs in hot places. I guess not always because there's stuff up in Portland, but like,
that's crazy because they need a shitload of water, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think that would be the main...
that's one of the prime requirements for a chip fab is a crap load of water.
Yeah.
Like you need to build it next to a lake or something.
Hey, people could come to Cleveland. We got tons of water. It's fresh.
Right.
It's delicious most of the time. It's only sometimes on fire. Come on, people.
Okay.
You know how that happened.
Excellent.
Have you ever heard of that, Dave, or no?
No, please do tell.
Okay.
Water on fire.
Yeah, I thought you should know this. So basically, that's what Cleveland's famous for. There's actually a beer named after the Burning River IPA, but
right.
Basically, that's how the EPA started. Is in the 70s. There's so much pollution everywhere, or early 70s or late 60s, and the river started on fire twice. So that's how the EPA started in the U.S.
Because they poured the chemicals into the river.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of the iron manufacturing and stuff.
Right. That happened up in Queensland, up in Bundaberg, which is famous for their rum. You may know their rum. Anyway, if you're into rum, you'll know Bundy rum, Bundaberg rum. Yeah, and the town. I think because I was up there, and they told the story of how their river that went through the town caught on fire, the whole river, because all the they had an overflow from the plant that was making the rum or something, and it all went into the river, and it all caught alight, and it was alight for, days or a week or something like that.
Wow.
It's just crazy.
And it was actually rum that was on fire?
Oh, or some, part of it that makes up rum. I don't know. Or some process that, I don't know. But something accidentally poured into the river and it caught on fire somehow or something like that. If memory serves me correctly. Don't quote me on this.
See, I think rum's a little different than, like, industrial waste.
Right. Yeah, but no, everyone was crying because, oh no, all the rum's going up in smoke, And, yes.
Yeah, so that's what Cleveland's famous for. But we do have a lot of water here, so, chip fabs, if you're thinking about it, give us a thought. I mean, really anywhere at the Great Lakes. I mean, there's a lot of water up here, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why do they build them in dry, hot places in the middle of the desert like that?
I don't know, because Austin was like that.
Which I'm assuming Chandler is.
Yeah, I mean, it's Arizona, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was in Austin at a chip fab, and there was there's a couple Freescales down there, IBM's down there. They're not all manufacturing down there, but some of them are. AMD's down there, got a manufacturing plant. And so,
right.
Texas doesn't have a lot of water. So I don't know.
No, you wouldn't imagine.
I think it's just more kind of entrenched talent. It's hard to get people to move somewhere. If tomorrow I did start a fab in Cleveland, it wouldn't be easy to get people here.
No, that's right. You would have to offer them really big incentives, and that eats into your margin, I guess. That eats into your operating costs.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, it's like, well, why not go to the optimal? Why not just go to Asia? That's what a lot of people say. Why not just, if you're going there, why not just take all your production to TSMC? I'm sure that's the kind of thought process it goes through. But sometimes when you make that decision, you have to, dive in and really make that investment and draw people there. So.
And interestingly, in the article, of course, no surprise, really, that some new state sponsorship had something to do with it, some new law they just so happened to pass last week.
Weird.
That gave them, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
That gives incentives to companies to build stuff like that in that state. So... Yeah, I'm sure that had everything to do with it.
That's just the new norm, though. I mean, it happens other places too. Even in China and Australia, I'm sure too. And
it does. Yeah, it does. It happens here. States put up incentives for companies to come.
The interesting thing about that is when it gets to a really micro level. Even here locally, we have enough towns around here where they start offering incentives, and so you have companies jumping from town to town, and they start fighting with each other. So it can turn nasty. It's interesting from a business perspective if you have a business and you could kind of go to where the best deal is. But on the other hand, it sucks for say you're a mayor and you're trying to keep people in a city. That's a tough thing to do these days because a suburb can turn around and give a really sweet tax advantage and boom,
for sure.
There goes half your, then your roads get worse and everything else too. So,
yep. I know it's a tough gig, trying to attract all these large companies and and then at the opposite end of the scale, you've got the likes of Walmart who don't need incentives; they just come in and bury everyone else and spread like a cancer.
Yeah.
So, it's either one or the other, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking about enticing people, I saw an article, I think it was from Suzanne Dufree from EDN, and it was about how New York City's trying to get Stanford to come to the city and start a tech center there. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't know if you saw that.
Actually, in the middle of the city, actually in Manhattan itself? Or?
Yeah, downtown. They're calling it Silicon Alley. instead of
Silicon Alley.
Valley.
We have a Silicon Alley here in Sydney.
Do you?
Or we used to.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was just a bunch of shops. It was just a bunch of, all of the famous shops back in the 70s and 80s. So they were all in one street, and that was Silicon Alley.
Oh, that's sweet. I love when they do that for, like, when you go shopping then,
Yeah. They were all literally right next door to each other.
Yeah.
There'd be Dick Smith, J.K., David Reed, and Tandy all in line. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's working, but like they're trying to draw in like Stanford and all these different companies and stuff like that. And it's the same kind of argument. You're like, how do you try and come to a company and say to them, well, don't go to China or India where you can have, a tenth of your operating cost. Come to New York City where you can't even have, like your rug installed without a union contractor. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's a cool idea. It's good to have that kind of localized localized commerce, but you're not going to be putting a fab in there, obviously, and you're definitely not going to be operating at a lower cost. So it's kind of the when you start thinking about the business side of things, it starts to really suck.
Well, look, I mean, the whole, you mentioned like 1/10 the operating, 1/10 the cost to go to China, in the end, it's nothing like that,
Oh, no, of course,
that's
not
a real
exactly.
myth, people think that it's, it's an order of magnitude cheaper to set up in China, and it's clearly not. Otherwise, Intel wouldn't be doing it.
Right, well, that's a good point.
They go through, they do the sums, and they go, it's probably very close. Hey, we'll stay here in, US.
Yeah.
There's not much in it. Once because the cost is in actually building the plan. It's not so much, the ongoing, these plants just cost, they actually cost $5 billion to make.
Yeah,
so,
that's a lot.
the operating costs after that are sort of almost, sort of a drop in the bucket, really.
Yeah.
So, it's China's not as cheap as you think.
No, I agree, and I mean, you highlighted that with Agilent coming back to the U.S. too, and I mean, I think even just like monetary pressures too. Like China's cost of living is increasing, the U.S. is stagnant at least. I don't know about Australia, and so it starts to become and that's before you start looking at all the stuff that actually matters. Like how do you communicate across timelines? How do you communicate across language barriers? There's all that stuff that I think a lot of people don't put into their spreadsheets, and then they make these decisions, and they're like, "Oops,
oops, yeah, we can't." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a big deal because actually dealing with remote sites is hard.
Yeah,
especially when as you say, you've got the language and you've got the time barrier.
And cultural barrier too. I mean,
of course,
that can't be discounted either. Like. If you have company policies that say you can't go out drinking with your work buddies, but you go to Japan and it's expected because that's a very strong business tradition there. Like you go out and you relax with your coworkers, and that's where real business gets done, and that's a cool thing, I think. I mean, but
absolutely.
If that's a company policy in the U.S. that you can't do that, and then you go over there, it's like, well, then you got to start making exceptions and having interesting different policies too. So
absolutely,
yeah. I saw.
Now you mentioned Agilent,
yes,
and that segues beautifully into the new Agilent scope, and more precisely, the MegaZoom 4 ASIC.
Oh yeah,
used in this thing. Which is really, they've been developing this thing for years, and it's bleeding edge, and it's basically allows ridiculous scope performance in one single chip.
Yeah.
Everything's in there. You can see it in my latest Agilent 3000 teardown. I show a block diagram, explain what's in there, anyway, it's very, very cool chip. And I found out yesterday that probably not surprisingly, as all things, all good things tend to do, very clever things like this, it pretty much comes down to one person. And that guy is Matt Holcomb, who actually developed this ASIC chip.
So now you're going to have to explain yourself and say, not surprisingly. Why is that not surprisingly?
Because I found over the decades that, pretty much... It pretty much usually comes down to one smart guy. If you try and design something by committee, then it just, it just doesn't work. It's just a piece of shit, generally speaking.
Okay.
So, all of the really smart, cool things really come down to the passion and the execution of one or maybe two people. It's very few people in the end. So you might imagine, this new flagship ASIC that Agilent have developed, they'll have a team of 20 engineers working on it. No, it was this one guy, apparently. I'm sure he had a bit of help here and there, but generally it's the brainchild of one person.
Yeah.
You're not... Yeah, you disagree, obviously.
I don't disagree, but I think saying that it's a brainchild is a different thing than saying it's... Because it seems like what you're saying is like it's designed by one guy, but really it's architected by one guy, right? I mean, that's what you're really saying.
Well, I was told that he was the one who did it.
So he did all the layout, all the testing. He pretty much...
I don't know about the testing part of it, but it's his design. He laid it out. So I believe. So I'm led to believe anyway. Huh. But as I said, there may have been, the odd person helping him. But, it was, I think he was more than just the overall architect. I think he actually got down there and actually did it. I don't know. I haven't spoken to the guy, but that's the story I heard.
So well, I guess the thing I would think is the difference between I guess it depends on the scope of the chip too. So like if you're doing like an analog design where you're actually laying out like by hand, like the chip.
Right. No, I'm sure this is all VHDL and then.
Well, probably Verilog, but yeah.
And probably Verilog, yeah, something like that. And then, I'm sure there are people who, do the testing and, the test benches and all that sort of stuff as well. But, anyway, that's what I'm led to believe. And it wasn't terribly surprising that one person could design such an ASIC over, several years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty badass. I mean, I'll say that. I mean, like, I can't imagine a boss coming to you and being like, we just need you to design an entire chip. I know it happens, right? I mean, I know it happens, but
oh yeah, of course.
But also saying, it's also going to be the basis of our entire scope line. So that's kind of crazy.
Right. No pressure at all.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, don't mess it up because we'll go out of business.
Well, no, it may have started out, they just put one person on it.
Yeah.
Just, it didn't intend, just like as a research thing maybe. Well, no, it's based on existing technology, okay? Like, he didn't design it from scratch. It's called the Megazoom 4 for a reason, right? Yeah. So, he didn't do it down to every last transistor. Yeah, so, it was very, it's actually quite a significantly different architecture to the version 3 of the chip. I went to a presentation where they explained the differences between the Rev 3 and the Rev 4. Yeah. And, it was quite a lot of difference. Yeah. Sort of like half an order of magnitude better performance. Yeah. So,
the thing I always find interesting about scopes these days too is like any scope you really open up, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of system level. On the system level, it's a lot of like big chips. But but you go and open it. Like I have pictures on my site of like old tech scopes. Like I have a 425, and you open that thing up and it's all discrete. Obviously they're not doing that even close to anymore. And
no, exactly.
But it's just interesting how it's moved that way. People have been predicting it for years with like IP stacks and all that other stuff. A lot of FPGAs and a lot of ASICs but there's hardly anything else in there anymore. It's a RF front end.
Well, no, I wouldn't say. If you look at my teardown, like you might think that from an overall system level, but if you look at the sheer number of components, there's a crap load of individual passive on. There's a whole bunch of LM324s, for goodness sake,
But they're...
But what? There's LM324s in an ultra-modern scope that's just been released.
I guess so. I mean, I know. I saw that how there's 324s in there, and that's just a cost thing, though. I mean, like, they wouldn't be using LM324s unless it was some grunt part and they just needed to... I mean, they probably got those things for sub pennies, like...
That's right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a hell of a lot of components in there, hell of a lot of passives and a hell of a lot of just discrete.
There is, but it's a lot of power and it's a lot.
It's a lot of
signal
power
chain
and stuff
is different. I think.
I know that's what I'm talking about. It's at the system level, yes, it's basically the big badass chips, right? But
it's a
when you get down to building the board, it's far from that.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm not
saying
if
you're talking the BOM cost as well.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So
but I mean it's not like. It's not all discretes. It's mostly like the highest level functions are mostly in chips. That's what I'm saying.
They are, yes, they are embedded into.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chris wins. Boom.
Not really, no.
I know.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say that.
Right. I'll never admit defeat.
I know. Speaking of, there's an article in Electronic News about...
Oh, God, here we come, boys and girls.
Here we go. Talking about Chris winning. About big companies and the future of printed electronics.
Not in the home, dude. Not in the home.
That's right, yeah. I know.
Exactly. Hey, there we go. He admits defeat. There we go.
No,
you heard it. It's on the record.
No,
he said not in the home.
Not in the
it's never
home
going to happen.
initially. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
no,
let's look at
the
these
company. The industry
Samsung, Nokia. Come on. Those are big names. Panasonic. These are big.
And they're the ones who currently develop chips, which they've been doing for the last 50 years, and they've spent hundreds of trillions of dollars doing it and refining it. And
I don't know about hundreds of
it's
trillions.
It's got to be over 50 years. I don't know. Whatever, right? An infinite amount of money.
Yeah.
I'll jump from trillions to infinite.
Yes.
Working on this shit.
Yeah.
And there is no effing way in hell that you're going to print these things, build your chips in your own home because they're so complex. It'll be the same with the printed chips. The processes will be so exotic and complex. Again, they might be lower cost, but they, it's not something you can, churn out on your kitchen table. It's crazy.
For example, cost reductions has not panned out to be such a big issue. This is a quote, by the way. Nor is there a trend towards organic versions taking over most applications. So, people thought that, it's never going to be cheap enough. Guess what? It's getting cheaper. Getting cheaper,
yeah,
Dave.
But cheaper, that's what I mentioned. Cheaper has nothing to do with being able to do it in your own home. Yes, they build big plants to do it, and it's very cheap for them because the processes are cheaper than silicon. That's what they're talking about, because silicon is so complex and so involved that even an order of magnitude less complex than a silicon chip is ultra cheap, but it's still an order of magnitude more complex than what you can do in your own home. So it's not going to happen, dude.
Moving on. They're introducing... No, I'm moving on to the rest of the article. Including printable copper and a replace silver inks and also printable CNT, I'm not sure what that is, graphene and other conductors and semiconductors with the promise of even better performance. So basically the guy who wrote this article is about is doing a roadmap, and the roadmap is a lot more rosy than they had previously thought. And so it looks like well, it looks like pessimists aren't doing quite as well. So looks like we might see a little uptick here, Dave. You better start.
Oh, of course. No, I've never ever debated that silly. That printed chips are not going to have a huge future. I've always said they will. Of course they will. There's tons of research going in. You've been able to do it for a long time in various ways, shapes, and forms. It's going to happen, but it's not going to happen in the home. It's not going to be viable, and there's going to be no point to it, and it won't be a revolution like you claimed.
All I'm saying is start surfing for those tickets to Cleveland, because you're gonna have to pay up, buddy.
No.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
No chance at all. My money is safe.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
You're going to flog that dead horse forever, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to ride that sucker all the way home.
All the way to the bank.
Yeehaw! Oh, my goodness. Boy. And the arguments are still the same. Anyway, let's not go there.
Yeah. There's another... So, one of our former workbench of the week guys, Leuven Blanca, he wrote in, too. There's a video on wax making. On printing wax masks for chips. So that's another link I'll add in there. We don't have to talk about it, but that's another helpful thing. If you don't have to use photoresist, if you can use wax, that's a good sign. So just saying.
Cool.
Just saying.
Right. Yeah. Sure. What is that in relation to, though? I haven't seen that article. Like, as in like wax directly on the board.
Well, like wax as a resist material for etching.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you could actually put wax directly onto the board to trace out the circuit. Is that the thing? And then throw it directly in the etchant? Is that?
This is for chips, actually.
Oh, right. It's actually for chip level. It's not for board level manufacture.
Yeah, okay, and it's actually it's an hour long video, unfortunately, but you can catch some of it, and it's on YouTube. So we'll post a link to that. But
what idiot would produce an hour-long video?
Well, if my bench takes much longer, I might join that club, Dave.
Right. I can't believe you didn't get a time-lapse photo of you constructing the thing.
I know.
Oh, they're so fun, those time-lapse photos.
I like them, but my video equipment is lacking, so...
Right.
Maybe if...
Well, how hard is it to stick a camera on a tripod and take one shot every half an hour?
Half an hour? It wasn't a built-in function, so I didn't do it.
Right.
I should have. I got a lot of videos.
I can understand. I'm lazy. My little compact camera has a built-in time-lapse feature.
I wish mine would have.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Hey, so we missed some shout-outs. I wanted to give a couple shout-outs real quick.
Yeah.
So one is actually a podcast for hackerspaces. I hadn't heard about it previously, and I think it's only on iTunes. It's called Signal, and it's
right.
It seems like it's monthly. So that's good. Another one that's kind of electronic.
Good work, guys.
Yeah. So I haven't listened yet, but that's something to listen to. And the other
only on iTunes?
Yeah, I think it's only on iTunes. It's weird.
Jeez, no, I don't know. Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of iTunes personally.
Nah, same here.
Yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyways. Yeah, the other one is the Savage Circuits chat. Wow, that's
Yeah, you've been crapping on about that lately.
Crapping on
Savage Circuits thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the typical terminology here in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Crapping on, talking up.
Never heard that one.
Talking about.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's pretty cool.
It's just like an IRC chat thing, is it?
Yeah, it's real simple. Just twice a month, first and third Friday. So got invited to just drop into that and was chatting for a while on Friday. So that's pretty cool. I don't know. Those guys. Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of the Parallax guys actually. So. Got to meet Ken and I forget the other guy's name. Oh, Joe Grand. He actually used to have a TV show. Yep. I didn't know about that. Joe Grand.
Right. Yeah, I know. He's the maker dude.
Yeah, Prototype. This was his show.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Right.
But it only lasted for a year, so I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I mean, I don't have cable, so I don't ever check these shows out. I don't even get to watch MythBusters, unfortunately. But
well, you can download them, There's this thing called torrent.
Dave, that is illegal. I am reporting you to the authorities. The MPAA is coming for you.
Oh, dearity.
Yeah, it's but it was cool sitting in there and just BSing about stuff. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Every man and his dog's got their own show.
I know. Well. We're not.
Did I mention?
We're not special,
Have I mentioned before on the Amp Hour that who's that? What's that geek website? Going to get myself in a pickle here because I'm not going to be able to remember.
It's EEV blog. There's a bunch of geeks on there.
Right. It's anyway, one of these big, one of the big hacker gadget. No, not hacker, but gadget. Websites, gadget review, they just talk about, phones all the time and other gadgets. And it's basically one of the biggest ones in the world.
Is it Engadget?
The name. Engadget, yes, Engadget. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Engadget. And have we mentioned this before?
I think I did mention it once, but I don't remember what we said about it. You're talking about the TV show, right?
The TV show. Yeah. They've got this TV show. I don't know whether it's on cable or free-to-air or whatever, but...
I think it's just internet.
It's like they've got a massive studio. Oh, yeah, they actually produce it. I think they might. They might just produce it for the internet.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing. It's got a studio audience, you'd get any, $1 million primetime TV show, and they've got a massive studio, a massive audience. They have special guests on. They had the Woz a couple of weeks back or something, and... It's, and the list of people actually producing this thing is just like a huge, $100 million budget TV show.
Huh.
It's crazy.
That's...
So I don't know how they can afford to do that when they're just producing video for the internet. God, how much are those advertisers paying?
They must be. I mean, they must be picking up on it or something. Because I mean, we were talking before the show about how much people pay for internet stuff, and it's insane. I mean, like, I think it's just insane in general how much people are paying for advertising. But it's a big business, you know.
It must be big.
Yeah.
Because these guys produce a professional TV show. It must cost millions of dollars to actually produce it. They've got to hire a studio, and they've got to, hire, and you go through the list of people, and there's, someone who sweeps the floor. At the end of it, the credits roll down, and there's the floor sweeper or something. And,
yeah, that's what they're concerned about. They're, we can't make this show. We need a floor sweeper.
With it. Yeah. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I think the real money there is, like, you'll never see that for an electronic show because the chip makers know that people are going to buy chips and it's not a big enough audience. But I think that the gadget audience is it's a big audience. There's a lot of...
It's massive.
And
exactly.
a lot of...
Every geek in the world, and we're talking, 100 million.
Right, exactly.
I mean, like... Well, I don't know, maybe not that many, but...
Or it's even broader than that, too. I mean, people who have a show or who just have a smartphone and are interested in smartphones, not necessarily a geek, they might just want to find out more about it, and they might find that show. And boom. Big old audience for advertisers, so...
No. It's massive.
Go where the money is.
Anyway, that's it. I'm in the wrong business. I'm in this little niche field of electronics. Oh God, I should be reviewing gadgets.
Sitting there talking to some nerd in Cleveland, and man, you were
exactly. What's the deal with that?
Waste of time.
That's it.
Well, you know what you should do? You should buy scratch-off tickets, but I hear that's not that lucrative. You posted a link about that.
I did post a link about this, and what the deal is we'll put the link up, of course. Some guy in Toronto, he's a Canadian, and he's a geological statistician. That's a fun job. He's into stats and math, and it's actually very interesting. I used to be in the geological side of things.
Oh, okay.
And he basically calculates where oil and other stuff is, based on.
Well, I mean, you say statistician, and I just go.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, he's a smart dude with numbers, right? And they tell the story in here of how he never bought into the lottery because he knows the odds and all that, and he just couldn't be bothered, right? So somebody gave him a couple of scratchy tickets, and they were sat in his wallet for a year or something, and he decided, I'll scratch these things, and he scratched them, and he looked at the numbers, and he went, I think there's a pattern here, and it just jumped out at him, like it's some noughts and crosses game. Okay, it was some, special variation of
noughts and crosses.
If you've ever played these scratch lotteries. Noughts and tic-tac-toe, I'm sorry.
That's right. I was going to say, let's make sure we clear it up for the people at home there.
Right. Noughts and crosses is what we call it here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because we actually put a nought and a cross, a zero and a cross in the squares.
X's and O's.
Right. So X's and O's. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, it's a variation of that. It's that game. And he went, I think there's a pattern here. And he just spent a couple of days thinking about it. Like, he didn't even go out and buy more tickets and prove it. Like, he came up with this theory in his head that he knew must be right, and he knew he had cracked the code because the ticket actually, before you scratch it, has a bunch of numbers on there.
Yeah. And
he figured out that just by looking at those numbers, you could tell the odds of whether or not that ticket was going to be a winner or not.
Yeah.
So you could go in the newsagent and just look at the ones that are being displayed and know that one's going to be a winner. And he figured this out all in his head, right? And then he, now if I did this, the practical engineer in me would have gone, right, okay, I've got a theory. I'll go out and I'll buy 100 tickets and, scratch them and see if my theory's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He didn't even bother. He was so sure that his theory was correct.
Mathematicians, man.
Bloody mathematicians. He was so sure that, he didn't have to go out and do that.
That's awesome,
and
though.
He tried to, Anyway, the story, what you were saying is that it's not lucrative, is that he did the math and figured out, okay, I've broken the code for this thing. Now, if I did it as a full-time job, I'd have to go around to every newsagent, in the state or whatever, and, that'd take X amount of hours to go around to each one looking at X amount of tickets, and I'd get X amount return on average. And it would pay less than his day job, which is a consultant for, doing the stats stuff. So really, he decided, well, this is no value to me. I can't make money out of it, so I may as well tell them about it. It's great.
That is great.
And they didn't. Yeah, and they didn't believe him.
Yeah.
He contacted the head dude at the lotteries, and they basically just fobbed him off. So he went, right. He went out and bought, 20 tickets or something, and he didn't scratch them. What he did is sorted them into winning and losing piles, and he attached a note to it and sent that to the guy. And he was 19. He had 19 out of 20 correct. And within a couple of hours, they called him up and went, yeah, oh shit. And they actually, the game was flawed, and they actually took it off the market. So
wow,
there you go. Awesome story. I love it.
It's a great
You've
story.
got to have a read of
I
it.
can't believe you still play the lottery.
That's because this particular game didn't pay out much. It
gotcha.
was it was crock.
Gotcha.
Tell my mum that. She won $100,000 on the scratch lottery.
Oh, good Lord.
This was back in 1980. This was back in the early to mid 80s,
Wow.
mid 80s, I think, when $100,000 was the top prize.
That's a chunk of change right there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No, people win, so that's why I'm in it.
I guess
But,
I was gonna say that's good conditioning for you to be playing there.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I play it because, $100,000. I wouldn't be impressed with that. I can't quit my job if I win $100,000. That's stupid. I'm in it for the big money. I don't play the scratch lotteries. I just play the regular lotteries, which pay out, $5-10 million, that sort of thing.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm in it for the big one.
You know who could use that is some of that money is Freescale. You see that they're
What's happened to Freescale? Poor Freescale.
I know, horrible transition too. Sorry about that. But basically, they got taken private a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember that.
Vaguely.
I remember because
maybe.
I've used some of the chips before, and I was worried that they were going to go under, and then they got bought out by Blackstone, which is like a equity group. So basically, they leveraged all this debt, and they said, okay, well, we're going to go private now, and we'll just be able to do whatever we want to, and just kind of rework our loans. And now they're going public again, and it's like
right. Of course, because they want to make a shitload of money.
I don't know. They're not though.
Fast.
They're doing it because they want. I think they need to pay off some of the debt, and they can't. And it's not helping.
Oh, so that's their only option. They're being forced into it.
I think
are they?
so. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean,
right.
But the thing I wanted to point out is just like, do you think there's going to be like a scaling down of chip companies? I mean, we keep seeing these trends to bigger and bigger because they have to be, right? So like, Intel's building a $5 billion fab, and TSMC is. I saw a thing today about them growing 22% this year, or something ridiculous like that.
Right.
But like, what direction can they go? I mean, like, you can't go smaller. You'll get eaten up by the big guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not allowed to make chips in your basement. Someone told me that. I mean, like...
exactly,
yeah.
And that person is right.
Yep.
And so it's like expand or die, right? Is that?
I mean, and so it's like I think they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't know.
Well, that's I guess not terribly surprising. I don't know. How do you survive as just a low-level chip maker? Have they got a fab of their own, or are they a fabless company?
Freescale has some fabs. Yeah, they actually have some down in Austin.
Okay.
I mean, Freescale used to be Motorola, and then they got spun off, and Motorola still makes phones, and Freescale makes the chips. That's not for you, Dave. I know you know that, but
no, I wasn't sure if Freescale got any of the fabs out of the deal when they spun off.
Oh, I think they got all of them. I don't.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's their entire chip. It was the entire Motorola chip division.
Oh, the entire chip line.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and I think they moved some of their stuff to like the TSMCs, but not all of it. I think so. That might be wrong.
Why? Because they didn't have enough capacity in their own fabs, or did they shut some down due to?
I don't know.
Operational cost. Oh,
it's just amazing because it's such a it's a huge part of the economy, right? Like if Freescale disappeared tomorrow, right? That would mean.
Yep.
Automakers would be up a creek. They're really big for automakers.
Well, the answer is they wouldn't be allowed to fail.
Right, exactly.
That's the answer, right?
It's ridiculous, though.
There are market forces which keep you afloat,
Yeah.
or or ensure that you're bought out and some of your chip lines survive,
Right.
all that sort of stuff. So, I don't know. Will someone come along and just snap them up? I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. It's just like it's inconceivable the amount of money, like it directly affects you and me, right? So like you love microchip,
Yeah.
and if microchip went out tomorrow, you'd be up a creek, right? I mean,
Well, yeah.
I mean for some projects, right? Not necessarily all of them.
Oh,
Or
no, of course,
anything,
but
right?
no, the whole industry would be...
anyone else, right?
Well, that's right.
There's just like there's no way it's ever gonna be different, right? Unless someone else gets just as big and then they eat them up. But man, it's crazy. It's just crazy how the industry has changed over the years, and obviously I haven't been a part of it as long as some older people.
Has it? I don't know. Mergers and gobbling up and all that sort of stuff has been happening since the days of since the days of the transistor companies.
Yeah, that's true, but
really.
they weren't billion-dollar companies then. Like they weren't.
Oh, I think they. Well,
it's a scale. It's a scale of it. Like.
Yeah, scale, but still, the industry hasn't changed. It's just just the actual numbers have gotten bigger. That's all.
Yeah.
So the way things work, I don't think it's changed that much.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it's.
I think they won't go under. Companies like that do not just go under.
Yeah.
Somebody will snap them up for a bargain and keep certain chip lines going and stuff like that. So maybe it'll be Arizona Microchip.
Arizona Microchip? Who's that?
Arizona Microchip. I'm going with their old name.
Oh, is that what they used to be?
Didn't you know that? They used to be called Arizona Microchip.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. See, I know nothing about them.
There you go. I don't know when they changed it to just Microchip.
Yeah.
Or even if they technically were called Arizona, but you used to, no, I'm sure they were called Arizona Microchip at one stage. Yeah, absolutely, because that was branded on everything they had.
Yeah.
Was Arizona Microchip. So that's how you knew where they came from. They came from Arizona.
Right.
It was.
Well, I didn't know that, so no, I wouldn't know that. But now you've told me, and now I know. So, learning.
There you go. Yep. So I thought I'd throw in their old name there.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe they'll buy them because they're making a huge profit at the moment.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
They could gobble up everyone, Microchip.
Good for them, man.
Yeah. They're one of the few companies who are making a profit at the moment, especially in the microchip sector.
All the tech companies.
All the
tech
others
companies are making tons of money, dude. Don't kid yourself. They all are.
No. You look at the who's who of the microcontroller market.
Oh, okay.
They're making a loss. They're making a loss.
Really? Oh, I didn't.
So, yeah.
I haven't seen that lately.
Yep.
I guess I'll have to look at that.
Well, Atmel have not made a cent since they started out.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Boy.
That's, maybe one quarter here or there or something like that. But overall, they've made a loss every year since they started.
Boy, that's got to be depressing.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's why they almost went under and Microchip tried to buy them and, So, yes, it's a nasty business. Or, it may have picked up in the last year or so, I think. But, yeah, it's like last 3-4 years has been really shocking for the microcontroller manufacturers. So
yeah, I guess there's just so many entrants in that market, It's just you got to kind of carve out your niche, You got to carve out your niche.
And there's so many products. They've got so many variations.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's just endless, Which is good.
More as a user, I guess. I don't know. It sucks when I hate when you have a chip or a part even, and you know that they were just trying to satisfy a ton of different markets, and you get set into one, and then they're like, oh, sorry, there's no money here, and
there's no money, and they drop it.
Yeah, I know. It's like you almost want to just design to the biggest person. It would be nice if like in the industrial market, right? Industrial and like automotive, right? That's kind of the market I work in, and if Toyota or GM or any of or Ford, if they would just publish some of the chips they're thinking about using, and then I could design to that, because those chips are going to stick around. They have these contracts where they're like
exactly.
We're going to be around for 20 years. It's like, okay, well, I want to use that part too.
Yep,
that'd be actually
for sure.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a service like that. I know there's the teardown service, like iSupply is one of them, but I don't know if they do that for cars.
Well, why can't the chip makers just publish the number of sales for each chip, or have how popular each chip is. There's an idea.
Yeah.
There's an amp hour idea for the manufacturers.
Yeah.
I know they all listen. All the
Oh,
CEOs
yeah.
of all the
yeah.
major companies listen to the amp hour.
Yeah.
And
Sipping their
here's my
lattes.
idea for you. On your website, next to each product, have a little indicator which shows how popular that product is.
Oh, that would be nice.
And then through natural attrition, products will die out. You'll save cost. People won't get stuck with orphan parts.
Yeah.
Everyone's a winner.
That is everyone's a winner. I like that one. All right. That is it.
There you go.
Amp hour original right
My
there.
checks. Yes, the invoice is in the mail.
Yeah. I mean, that would be great. And you think about it from a manufacturing standpoint, too. Then they can optimize processes for, that very high runner chip. And you don't have supply issues, like as much because you're cranking it out. If you need, 10% more output, then you push it to TSMC or whoever else is the big fab. And I don't know, maybe they don't want to do it because of competition. I don't know why they wouldn't want to do that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. There's dozens of reasons you could think of that would be a PR nightmare for them or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, they wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but it's a winner.
It is a winner, yeah.
It's a practical winning idea. I don't know. They'll find a million excuses.
From the
not to
trenches
do it, of
level,
course.
that is a great idea. For the people that are actually designing, that is something that would be very useful, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Because how do you know how popular a part is? You've got to have this whole knowledge of, all these products that's used in the industry. Okay, this Atmel chip's used in the Arduino, and it might be popular. No, because, it might be popular in the Arduino, but the Arduino has only made 100,000 over the last, 5 years. That's not many. That's a drop in the bucket for Atmel. How do you know how much, as you said, some of the automakers are using?
Yeah. Or
you just
even
don't,
television manufacturers, anyone, right? I mean,
anyone, any consumer,
exactly. And
people making white goods and
they could still play games with all the pricing and everything too, because if Panasonic's making a TV, do they still make TVs? I don't know if they do. If Samsung's making a TV and they use a certain chip, they're not going to give you and me the same price that they give Samsung, but
oh no, of course not. But at least you'll be able to get it because they're churning out fewer parts and more of those popular ones.
Exactly. Yeah, much better situation for them.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to continue talking about that in the future, and maybe eventually one CEO will listen.
Right.
Doubtful.
I don't know. I could call up Steve Sangy at Microchip. I've got his number.
Oh yeah, you should do that. You should send him the link. If they did that would be badass. You seem to love them so much. You should send them a link.
Maybe they could get on board.
Send them a link, man.
I might. Absolutely.
The power of the Dave Jones right there, man.
You're right.
Influence in the market, man.
Yep. All right. Maybe I'll capture a segment and I'll send him the. I don't want to waste his time listening to the entire.
Come on, he'll love it, right?
Hour.
We talked about
he'll love
we talked
it,
about
that's
Microchip
right.
a bunch, even though I didn't know where they were located or what they were originally called.
Right. There you go.
Or their mission statement.
Is that on Wiki? I wonder if you go to Wikipedia.
I don't know. I bet it is. You mean like what it used to be called?
Yeah, the history and stuff
sure.
like that. I'm just typing in now.
Well, I'm sure it's on there somewhere. We'll post the link if there is indeed something on there.
Right.
Instead of listening to you.
Microchip technology, they call it. There you go.
Yeah. We'll let people do their own research. Everybody could set their homepage to random on there.
Right. Cool. All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll talk to you next week, guys.
See ya.